Hello, great learners. My name is Virginia and welcome to my video. So today I wanted to guide you into the foundation of English, which is the tenses. So this is a challenge where a lot of people, a lot of learners struggle with the present, past, and future. And you will see that this is not very complicated at all. So let's go. First of all, before you start saying something or you start writing something, think of your sentence in your initial language. So it's going to start with a subject, a verb, and a complement. Now, after you have your beautiful sentence in your own language, think of the next step, which is, well, is my sentence in the present, in the past, or in the future? So let's go ahead with, okay, imagine you have said something that doesn't belong to the past. So you remain in the present. Now in the present, you will have two kinds of present in English. You have the simple present and you have the present progressive. So simple present is usually for habitual actions, things you do regularly every day, every time you get up, on Sundays. So you have indicators of regular things that you do. So we use the simple present and simply follow the example that is given. So most of the time, you simply translate from your language into English with a subject, a verb, and a complement, and you will have a beautiful sentence. Remember to put the little s onto the verb if you use he or she or it. That's all. So we're focusing on the positive statement for the moment. Now, if you say, every day I work hard, this is a simple present tense. So every day is an indicator of things you do regularly, something you do regularly. So I work hard. Yes, or he works hard. Now, we have the present progressive. So present progressive is for when you mean to talk about something that is happening right now. So now, at this moment, currently, right, these days. So currently, you are watching me. Yes, you are watching me. You're working hard on your English. So this is the present progressive, right? So these are the two tenses that are the easiest in English, and most learners struggle less with these two. Now, the most challenging part will be the past tenses. Past tenses, there are six altogether, six main past tenses. Now, we go back to your initial sentence in your own language. You know you're talking about a past action, something you have done. So you look into the past. Now, the second stage is to see whether your past is dated or non-dated. So is it a dated past or non-dated? So dated means you mention when exactly you did the action to the listener. The listener doesn't need to ask you when exactly did you do that action, because you have said it to the listener. All right, so we know that our sentence has a date, a clear date. The listener doesn't need to ask us when we have done this action. So it's going to be on the pinky part of my chart. And in the pinky part of my chart, in the pink part of my chart, you have two kinds of dated past. So you have the simple past and you have the past progressive. Now, which one to choose? So this is another challenge. Which one to choose? Should I put my sentence in the simple past or the past progressive? So it's very easy to recognize, it's easy to tell which one to use. So simple past is simply prompt actions. You make a list of actions. You give a list of actions you did, for example, yesterday. So yesterday I went shopping, I saw a friend, we discussed, and I went back home. So most of the time it's prompt actions. It's a list of actions that you want the listener to know about. And whereas the past progressive is when you mean to talk about that past action, you clearly have mentioned again to the listener. But the second point is you insist on the continuity of the action. So most of the time you will look into two subcategories, okay, two kinds of sub-examples. First of all, is it going to be combined with the word when? So when you use the word when, I was walking to the market when it started to rain. So if you put your past progressive combined with when plus a simple past behind, this has the sense of there's an interruption of the action I was doing. I was walking to the market when I was interrupted, my attention was interrupted by the rain, and I had to take out my umbrella. So that's the first example of past progressive with the use of when. The second example, frequent case of the use of the past progressive is in combination with while. So while is a little word that indicates you were doing two actions simultaneously in that specific time, in that finished time you have mentioned to the listener. So an example would be, yesterday I was walking to the market while I was speaking on the phone. Of course, there's a shorter way to say that, but I would like to illustrate the combination of the past progressive, two verbs in the past progressive form, because you were doing those two actions at the same time. And that little word while is going to help you indicate that simultaneous action, those simultaneous actions. So I was walking to the market while I was talking on the phone with my friends. Yes. So that was the past progressive. So past progressive, you'll have to be careful with whether you're going to choose the combination with when or the combination with while. So very easy. Past, dated past is a finished time. You use the dated past, the pink part of my chart, for a finished time. And most of the time this past belongs, well, it's not very recent. It's something you have done quite a while ago. Yeah. Right. So let's move to the non-dated past. Your sentence, your initial sentence in your own language is in the past. You're talking about a past action, and the sentence doesn't have any indicator of when you did the action. For example, I have met a very interesting person. I have met a very interesting person. So in your sentence, the listener needs to ask you, hey, when did you meet that interesting person? So this is what I call non-dated past, right? Non-dated past, again, has two categories, two parts. There are two boxes that belong to the non-dated past. So let's focus on the present perfect. So present perfect and present perfect progressive are two tenses that will be in the white part of my chart, just next to the pinky part. So there are three reasons to the use of present perfect. To make it simple, because you're all professionals, you would like to learn in a very quick way. So you don't want to go back to books with lots of pages of grammar that will give you headaches. So simply use my chart. So three reasons to use the present perfect. The first one, as I have mentioned, is, so present perfect is for a past. Okay, your sentence is in the past, but you don't tell when exactly you did the action. I have met a very interesting person. That's the first reason. And remember to follow the examples that I give in the chart every time. Now, the second reason for the use of present perfect will be the little words that I have indicated in the box of the present perfect. So those little words are just, never, recently, lately, so far, since, for, and I think there are others. If you take a closer look at my chart, there are other little words that would tell you, hey, use the present perfect here. So that's the second reason. Now, an example of this is, I have never eaten crickets. I have never eaten crickets. You see, my initial sentence, your initial sentence in your language must be in the past, but you also use never. The word never is there, present. So systematically it's going to be present perfect. So that's the second reason. The third reason to use the present perfect is, well, you are talking about a past action, okay, something you have done. And in your sentence, you mention a time indicator, but that time indicator is going to be different. That time indicator will show that the time is not finished. So an example is today. If you check your time, today is not finished, or this week is not finished. All right, this week is not finished. This month is not finished. Or in my life is not finished. So this is going to imply the use of present perfect. An example would be, well, this week I have done a lot of things, right? You will not say this week I did a lot of things, because this week is not finished. Imagine this week is only Thursday or Friday or another day, and you know that it's not the end of the week yet. So this week I have done a lot of things, not I did a lot of things. So I have done a lot of things this week. So that was the third reason why you have to use the present perfect. 3 reasons. So once again, you talk about a past action. There's no time indicator of when you did this action in the sentence. The listener needs to ask you when. Second reason, the little words such as just, lately, so far, recently, for, since, right? So this is these are indicators of the present perfect. The third reason is an indicator of an unfinished time, such as this year, right? This year I have traveled. So this year is not finished. We are only into the month of May. So we still have more months to go before the end of the year. So we understand the year is not finished. Time is not finished. So that's why I have indicated in my chart unfinished time, right? Once again, the pinky part of my chart is only for dated past and finished time. Yes. Now, you might have this question in your head while listening to me saying, hey, how about the present perfect progressive? When do we use that? Okay, so present perfect progressive is usually used, first of all, for a sentence. Okay, your initial sentence is in the past. You talk about a past action, something that you have started. You don't know when you started that action, and the moment you're saying it, you're still doing that. You know, you're still doing that till today. It's not finished yet. So that's the present perfect progressive. Now, there's another little delicate point to understand. Sometimes you have probably heard, I have worked for this company for 5 years. I have worked for this company for 5 years. It's the same person speaking. Another day, the same person will say, I have been working for this company for 5 years. Well, wait a minute. What is the difference between the present perfect and the present perfect progressive? Why is the person using both? Now, here you have to be very careful. The present perfect tense will be okay, right, if the listener knows the person very well. So in my classes, I always explain that. I take the time to explain to my students who feel a little confused about that. So once again, the present perfect is used here, and it's going to be okay for the listener if the listener knows you well, in the sense that if they know, so we're going to continue with the I have worked for this company for 5 years. If the listener knows you well, because they're your good friends and they know that you started working for this company 5 years ago and you're still there, this means you are simply making a summary of all the things you have done. You have counted the number of years you have been in that company, and now it's been 5 years. Okay, so now let's continue with the present perfect progressive. Yes, I am in a different tab. This tense sounds very complicated for a lot of learners. As I told you, they get confused. Most learners get confused with the present perfect and the present perfect progressive. It's very easy. The present perfect progressive is a tense that you will be using whenever you want to talk about an action you started to do in the past. You don't tell people when you started to do that action, and the moment you are communicating with the person in front of you, you're still doing that. Yes. So an example will be, I have been working for this company for 5 years. So we take the same somehow example. I have been working for this company for 5 years. So we want to insist on the fact that, right, I started working for this company 5 years ago, and I'm still doing that. Yes. So it's not finished. It's an unfinished action. So we use the present perfect progressive. I have been working for this company for 5 years. So this is a tense that will be used as well when you are in front of an audience that is composed of people you know very well and people who don't know you very well. So with the use of the present perfect progressive, everybody will understand that you're still working for that company. Yes. For those who know you well, fine. Okay, fine. It's no problem for those who know you well. But for those who don't know you well, if you don't use the present perfect progressive, they might be thinking you have finished working, and in your life, you have worked for that company. Yes, and you don't do it anymore. So use the present perfect progressive tense if you want to make sure there's no misunderstanding by the audience. Great. So as simple as this. So now let's move on to the future. So how many futures do we have here? As you can see, there are 5 kinds of futures. Which ones do you mostly use? Let me guess. Maybe will or be going to. Now there are more than that. There are 3 more, so there are 5 altogether. So first of all, we have will. So will is used for whenever you are not sure of this action. It's only a prediction. It's something you have forecast. That's it. You're not sure this is going to happen. Okay, you think it's going to happen. So I think I will go fishing this weekend. I'm just thinking. I might change my mind. Yes. So the second future will be going to. So be going to, when you use be going to, the listener will understand that you have made a decision to do something. Yes. So that's why I indicated decision. So you have made a decision to do an action. Yes, to improve my English, I'm going to learn my irregular verbs by heart. Isn't that your idea too? Isn't that your determination? Yes, you're going to learn your verbs by heart. The list I will be sharing later on in my video, in my next video. So this is, you actually don't need to say to the listener, I have decided to learn my irregular verbs. By simply saying, I'm going to learn them, they understand. It's a decision you have made. right? So now the third form of the future, which is the present progressive. So we can use the same form as the present progressive with a time indicator. For example, tomorrow, in 2 minutes, next week, in a few months. So in a few months, I am flying to America. In a few months, I am flying to America. So when you use this form, it means that it's something you have planned to do. It's like you take a calendar book and you have written it down, right? It's a program, it's something, it's part of your program. So it's a plan. And so you're going to America, you're flying to America to visit your family members. Yes. Now the fourth form of the future is the simple present with a time indicator. For example, my train leaves tomorrow at 10. So most of the time when we talk about schedules that don't change all the time, that stay the way it is for at least 6 months or a year, then we would use the simple present. That's why we have my train leaves tomorrow at 10, because in 6 months or in 1 year it's going to be at 10. The departure is at 10. We focus on the schedule, right? So the final form of the future is the fifth one, number 5. So this is going to be with will be plus ing to the verb. An example is I will be going to my office on Monday. I will be going to my office on Monday. Yes. So we are going to use this form in most of the time in services jobs, because this is very formal. So I highly recommend you professionals using this form. So Mr. Jackson, we will be sending you the package early next week. Yeah, so it's very polite to use this kind of future. And the second reason we use the future progressive is also because when you say this, when you say, Mr. Jackson, we will be sending you the package early next week, not only are we very polite, but second, the listener or the reader, if you write it in your email, gets the feeling that it's going to happen for sure. And it's very soft too, you know, it's just, there's no, it's soft. There's a soft action going on. We give this feeling of soft action that is going to happen. Yes. Now, and that's this is the form most pilots use. I mean, all pilots would be using this. If you pay attention as passengers, you know, as a passenger on the plane, if you pay attention to what the pilot says 30 minutes before landing, they usually go this way. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be landing in 30 minutes. So when we hear this, we feel good. We're sure the landing will be soft, and he's also addressing all passengers in a very formal way. Yes. So now, the third reason of using the future progressive is to express a personal routine. Things that you are used to doing very regularly. Yes, with the same people, at the same place, and at the same time. So knowing, for example, I teach my students every Thursday and Friday, or every day from 10 to 12 o'clock, it has become a strong habit. You know, we have been going on for months now, so I can say, well, you know, next Monday I will be teaching that group of students again. So yeah, when the listener hears me saying this, they understand it is something I'm the habit of doing. It's a little stronger than on Monday I teach my students. Okay, so I will be teaching my students on Monday has a stronger meaning, a stronger habit than I teach my students every Monday. Yes. So these were the 5 futures that are very necessary to understand. Right, okay, so let's approach the past perfect and the past perfect progressive. So first of all, the past perfect. One thing you have to remember, professionals and learners, the past perfect tense, which is made of had and verb plus ed, or the third column of the irregular verbs. I had eaten. So this is a past perfect. This past perfect tense can never be used without a simple past. Yes, it always comes with a simple past. And it's very easy to recognize this past and the past whenever you have the words before, by the time, or when. Because these words will indicate a first past. For example, before I started to shoot some videos, I had discussed in length with my friends. So before I started to shoot videos, I had discussed in length this topic. Yeah, so discussing this topic happened before I started shooting the video, right? So the past perfect is a past in the past that cannot be used alone. You cannot come to a person and say, hey, I had seen that person. The listener will look at you in a weird way and they go, well, yeah, when? So you have to mention, hey, yesterday, I before I went shopping, or before I went to see the customer A, customer A, I had seen the manager to prepare the negotiation. Yes, so that is possible. You can only use the past perfect with a simple past, and you simply follow the example I have given in the chart. Yes, okay, so the chart says before plus a subject plus a verb in simple past, and after that you coordinate with a past perfect, right? So very easy. Now, past perfect progressive. But it's almost the same thing, except that you insist on the continuity of this action, this past in the past. So imagine let's talk about the meeting that my manager organized yesterday. So before I conducted the meeting yesterday, my manager had been preparing a lot of files for me. Yes, it took some time. It took him some time to prepare those files. So that was a continuous action. His action of preparing the files took a little time. So that's why I can say before I conducted the meeting, my manager had been preparing all the files necessary for me. And when it was time for me to conduct the meeting, I felt all prepared. Yes. So that was the past perfect progressive. Really follow the examples that I always give, and you will be there, professionals. It is so easy. All right, so great learners, I hope you have enjoyed the video on the tenses. If you would like to have the complete chart, I will be more than happy to give it to you, to send it to you. Simply post a comment, get in touch with me via email, messenger, or WhatsApp. And I'll see you in my next video for other lessons.